Thanks, Zane, for very generous introduction. And hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to Demystifying Artificial Intelligence. Now, as you know that I am a mechanical engineer, and like so many people of my generation, I always felt that coding and AI are reserved for people who are from computer science background. But about 2.5, 3 years back, just out of curiosity, I took a plunge into AI, and I realized that it was not that difficult to understand the basic concept of AI if one makes a sincere attempt to understand it. And that's what I want to do today. I want to take you under the hood of AI so that next time when you hear these two words, artificial intelligence, it is no more a closed black box for you. Now we will take this journey in 3 steps by asking 3 key questions. Number one, what is AI in a nutshell? And how a piece of software can attain human level intelligence? Then, number two, how is AI impacting the pharmaceutical industry? And number three, perhaps the most important, what does it mean for professionals like us? Now, before we dive into AI, I want to share with you a small incident which I'm quite familiar with. There is a couple. Husband is an engineer and wife is a school teacher. And compared to the wife, husband has better writing skills. So wife always used to sometimes come to the husband to seek help to write some important reports, emails, etc. And the husband will always tell his wife that don't expect me to write for you from the scratch. Always draft something and then you come to me. The wife would struggle with the draft. And when she came back with a draft, that's when the things exploded. Because husband looking at from his vantage point of his writing skills, we'd immediately find out 10, 15 mistakes in the draft. And then he would say that I told you last time you should not put this capital letters here, and then this comma should not be here. And last time also we discussed and this and that. And the wife would say, I told you to just fix this thing. Don't give me a lecture on writing skills. But invariably, this writing exchange will turn into a mood spoiler between them. Then one day, the husband introduced the wife to ChatGPT. And the wife discovered that if you just tell ChatGPT few points, it can very nicely compose an email for you. And if you throw in some rough text, it can tidy it up and give you a very nice flowing report or email. And it will do it without making any noise, no controversy. Since that day, the wife never returned to her husband for any writing help. I shared this incident with you because I want to ask you this question in our first poll. What is your interpretation of this case? A. ChatGPT enhanced the wife's writing skills and broke her husband's monopoly on writing. Or B. This case is a harbinger of the future. AI is poised to democratize knowledge and skills which were previously concentrated among a few professionals like doctors, lawyers, and engineers by making them easily accessible to everyone. So let's have this poll.
We will give it another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So indeed, I can see that 89% people feel it is B, that AI is poised to democratize knowledge and skills, and only 11% people see it as just one of chat GPT kind of incident. But I would share that the answer is truly B. It is not just one small incident about someone getting augmented by AI for writing skills. It will happen for many, many things, and it is already happening. So thanks for participating in this poll. And so let's come to the first question. What is AI? Is it chat GPT? Is it Gmail's autocomplete? We all see that Gmail can very nicely predict the next few words quite correctly. Is it Gmail's spam filter? Works very well. Or it is the tailored recommendations on your YouTube, Netflix, and Amazon? Or is it chatbots like Alexa also and Siri? What is AI? If you think about it, these are all expressions of artificial intelligence. There is some intelligence behind all of these examples. But what is that intelligence? Now, if someone to ask us, what is human intelligence? I think you'll be at loss of words to define human intelligence. But we all know that human intelligence enables us to do so many things. This is just a very small list. We can write emails, we can paint paintings, we can analyze data, create videos, drive a car safely, write software programs, appear at exams. These are all expressions of human intelligence. Now, if something comes along and creates a common ground, a big overlap with the expression of human intelligence, then we say, oh, this is something really artificially intelligent, but just like humans. Not only this, if you think about it, the way this field is progressing, this red circle is already very big and it is expanding at a very rapid pace. In fact, it will go out of my slides very soon. So, what is left, which is still not in the red circle? You can see it is general intelligence, creativity and imagination, empathy, emotional understanding, and of course, the final frontier of being human, which is consciousness and self awareness. With this backdrop, if someone to ask what is artificial intelligence, I think one's very simple definition can be technology that mimics human intelligence. Now, technology is also a very generic word. So, if we have to go a little deeper, we can say it is a combination of three things: hardware, software, and data. If any of these things is missing, you won't have AI. Of this, companies like NVIDIA are dominating the hardware field, companies like OpenAI, the software field, and the data, it is everywhere. So it's a combination of these three things that creates this magic called AI, which basically mimics our own intelligence. So that brings us to the next question, which is, what is the AI secret to mimicking human intelligence? How does it become intelligent? And to answer this question, let's look at what happens when we are born and we grow. So you can see on the x-axis is the age On the y-axis are the capabilities. We are all born with absolutely no capabilities except one capability, which is crying. Nothing else we are doing in the beginning. But slowly, we learn to roll over, smile, walk, we learn to play, read, and then we go on to do our professional work, write poems, books, fly rockets, and even create artificial intelligence. Basically, if you think about it, we are born learners. Some of the learning comes through evolution, but a lot of learning comes from our environment. We gather the inputs. If we just take one example, which I'm sure most of you will be familiar with, let's see how we learn from our environment. Just take one very common example. How we learn to drive. You will realize that we start with a simple goal that you want to learn to drive safely. Then you get some inputs in the form of traffic rules, a driving instructor. Driving instructor could be your own relative, your parent, your brother, etc. But someone comes along to tell you something about driving. And then we train. We start to learn to drive. Initially, it's very jerky, it's not smooth. Then the person who's teaching us gives us feedback. We take that feedback, we improve. And this process continues for about 2 to 3 weeks. And when we have sufficiently acquired this skill, we go for test. And if we pass the test, we say, driver is ready. Now you'll be surprised that AI simply copies the way we learn. And let's see how it does. Suppose I want to teach an AI program to diagnose brain tumor from MRI scans. That's my goal. So just like driving instructor, we have to provide MRI scans of the past patients to this program so that it can learn how to diagnose. Then just like our driving training, it goes through training. And during the training, it will make some initial diagnosis, which will be quite wrong. Big error will be there between actual diagnosis and what it is predicting. But then the program will try to keep reducing this error over time. So it goes through the iterations. And then finally, when the accuracy is good enough, this program goes through testing. During the testing, it is subjected to new set of data, which it has not seen before, and it is supposed to predict. And if the testing accuracy is good, then we say this AI model is ready for the real world. Now, if you want to generalize it and put it in the form of a flowchart, it becomes what is known as a very major subfield of AI called machine learning. It starts with the objective. You have to give input data. That is how it will learn. It goes into the model. It makes predictions. Those predictions are compared with the actual results. The difference is error, and if the error is not acceptable, the feedback goes to the model. It adjusts certain parameters. If it is acceptable, the model is tested on unseen data, and then the model is ready. This is a classic machine learning flowchart, which is one of the key subfields of AI. Now, if you want to further simplify it, it is simply like this. You feed in the data, goes into the AI program, and out comes the model. Once the model is ready, we put this model in the real world. Now, when the new patient comes, this scan goes into the model. Model is already learned based on the past data, and it gives the diagnosis. So this is what is happening. This is how AI is learning. Now I want to show you, just to give you a flavor of how AI software looks like. A very simple program. I'm not trying to explain the program here, but I just want to show you how few lines of code will do all that which we discussed just now. So let's start with the same thing. Training AI to diagnose brain tumors. So we start with our goal, creating an AI model to diagnose brain tumor. And now we need the input data. So suppose I have 1,500 images of patients with tumor and 1,500 images without tumor. So both kind of cases we have to feed into the program so it can learn no patient, no tumor as well as the tumor. And then we have 60 images where there is no diagnosis available. Okay, this is our input data. Now let's see step by step what happens in the program. The first step is, so this on the right hand side, what you are seeing is a very simple Python code, and I will share with you a short while that don't be too mystified by this code. It's easy to create. But for now, I just want to show you that this code is simply reading the input data from the directory in which we have kept those images. That is one thing it is doing. And another thing it is doing is it is just converting those images into one standard size, which is 224 pixel, 224 into 224 pixels. So this program is just reading the data first. Then, suppose we just want to see what kind of images are this. So this small piece of software on the top simply prints few of these images, displays the images for us. Then there is one more step involved, which is called as normalization. And what I want to show you here is that in the end, before the image goes into the model, it is converted into this bunch of numbers between 0 and 1. The image has been completely digitized. And that happens with your text when you put in ChatGPT, with your audio, anything to do with AI, everything is digitized in the end before it goes into the model. So this is what image looks like to the model now, just a bunch of numbers. Now the next, so our data is ready now. Now we go to the model. But before going to the model, I want to split this data because I want to use some of it for training the model and some for testing. So suppose I want to just split the data into 80-20. 20% I want to set aside for testing later on, and 80% I want to use for training the model. So this few lines of code simply splits the data into 80-20. Now our data is ready. So we go into the creating the model. Now this just a few lines of code is what is you can call as AI model. Okay. This model will take in the data. And the next step is that you start training it. So the top part is we configure the model, okay? And the bottom part is that now it will train based on the data we have already prepared. After the training, if you remember, the next step is that we want to test it, okay? So we test it. Now we are testing on that 20% data, okay? So this is a small piece of code on the top, and the curves you see at the bottom, there is one curve known as loss curve. This is basically showing the error. The blue one is for the training and the orange one is for the testing data. So you can see that the error is falling. X-axis is the iterations. So as the program starts, you can see the loss curve is very high. Accuracy is low on the right hand side. Right curve is for the accuracy. And as the program runs, error falls, accuracy improves. Okay. So now what we've acquired in this model is 97.1% accuracy. Our model is ready. What we want to do next is to use this to diagnose those 60 images which we had kept aside earlier. So this code simply takes in those 60 images and out comes this prediction. So you can see tumor, no tumor, all those images have been diagnosed by this program. It is as simple as that. Now, if you have never seen the program earlier, you of course feel a bit, I would say, mystified or maybe impressed as well that, wow, this is something. Actually, it is nothing big. How did I develop this program? The secret is I used AI itself to develop it. How? These were my instructions to ChatGPT. I simply gave clear-cut instructions what I want this code to do. I defined which folders I have, what kind of images, what pixels original images are, and then what I want this program to do. And I've defined step by step. So a little bit of understanding is required what we want it to do, but the whole program was written by ChatGPT. So this is another example of democratizing a particular skill that was considered to be, you know, very rarefied. Um, just like that lady could not write emails. Many people think that coding is something which very few people can do and rest of us can't do, but that's not the case anymore. Any one of us with little bit of understanding can create working code by simply giving instructions in English. Okay, so that's why I wanted to show you this program. So this was classic machine learning. It's an AI technology that enables computers to learn from existing data to make useful predictions. Now, if AI were a zoo, I think we've already captured the biggest animal in this zoo, machine learning. But there is another small elephant called deep learning. We'll spend just few minutes on that so that this term is no more something very complex for you. But then there are many other things in this zoo which we are not covering today, like natural language processing, generative AI, supervised and unsupervised learning, computer vision, robotics, etc. We are not going there, but we will quickly understand what is known as deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning. So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So let us see what is deep learning. Deep learning is a secret to its capability to mimic human level understanding. How does it do? To understand the secret of deep learning, we first have to understand our own brain. So, what is our hardware of human intelligence? Our brain. Our brain is an amazing organ. It consumes about 20 watts of energy, but it does amazing things. But if you see its structure, it is very, very complex. It is estimated that our brain consists of 86 billion neurons. And these neurons have connections with each other, which are it is estimated to be order of 10 trillion connections. So it's a very complex network. On the right hand side of this slide, you can see a structure of one simple neuron. So you can see in left and right some branches. What do these neurons do? These neurons are simply passing electrical signals to each other. Right now, when you are hearing my words, looking at the screen, these sensory inputs are going into your brain and multitude of neurons are firing. Okay, so that's the purpose of these neurons. And if because of some disease or some other problem, if some of neurons are degenerate or suppose they are damaged, you can see that how our functions get affected. Now, what it has to do with deep learning. Deep learning uses what is known as artificial neural network. It's a technique of AI that suddenly came into being around 2011 or 2012, and it completely revolutionized the field of AI. And what it has done is that first I will explain to you this is what does this structure means. So you can see these circles, they are like the neurons in our brain. This is where a small calculation is happening. These arrows are inputs, incoming input. This is output. Each of these nodes of calculations is receiving certain inputs and passing on the input, just like our neurons. Then you will also observe that this artificial neural network is in the form of layers. There is an input layer, then there are hidden layers in between, and there is an output layer. Input layer is the place where the data comes in. So we want to feed in brain tumor images, or we want to feed in images of, say, cats and dogs. This data is fed into the input layer. Then this input layer sends this data, slices, dices, adds some weights, and then it goes to the next layer. Some calculations happen. It goes to the next layer. It goes to the next layer. This is a very simple network I'm showing, but the real world networks are many hundred thousands of layers and thousands of neurons and connections. And then outcomes on the right hand side is the output layer, where whatever you are expecting it to predict will be predicted. Suppose we just wanted to predict, to learn how to detect whether it is cat or dog, it will predict that. And just like we short while ago, we learned that there will be an error in the initial prediction. Then the feedback goes back into the network, parameters are adjusted, comes back the output. And this process continues until it learns to predict with good accuracy. So this is artificial neural network, which is used everywhere in all complex AI programs. I just wanted to show you this. And then next we move to the second question. What does AI mean for the pharmaceutical industry? Now, many of you may be aware that one of the biggest challenges for the pharmaceutical industry is drug discovery process. And why is it so? The reason is the drug discovery process starts with what is known as, it's a long process, but it starts with what is known as target identification, where scientists try to figure out which proteins may be causing a particular kind of disease which they want to cure. Certain proteins are identified. Then hit identification. They try to identify which small molecules might bind with these proteins and inhibit their action, which is causing the disease. Millions of molecular libraries are there through which they have to go through to figure out which molecules will fit and which molecules have not been patented earlier. It's a very complex process. Then if they pass through this stage, then comes lead optimization, where certain molecules have been identified and now they work to see how their structure can be improved. If all these three stages are passed, then the drug goes to preclinical testing, where it is tested on animals. And if there also it passes, it goes to, of course, clinical trials, where it is tested for safety and efficacy. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And then if it passes through that also, then it goes for regulatory review and approval. This whole process takes 10 to 15 years. The failure rate is 90 to 92% after preclinical trials. So you can see what kind of failure rates are there. Very, very few drugs finally reach at the level of regulatory approval. And as you can guess, it is very, very expensive process. Now, when AI came about, many pharmaceutical companies realized that AI can speed up this process and reduce the cost. And that's the reason why GSK has collaborated with a company called Insilico. IBM is with Pfizer. Novartis has joined hands with Microsoft. And AbbVie is with Big Hat. And of course, other pharmaceutical companies have their own partners. Not only this, each pharmaceutical company nowadays has its own department, AI department, and many, many data scientists on the payrolls. So AI has entered into the drug discovery process in a big way. But I must say that, based on my understanding, still the the impact has to be felt. But there is great work going in that direction. One company that really stands out in this field is called In Silico Medicine. This company, way back around 2016, decided to apply AI to every stage of drug discovery process until clinical trials. So they have AI engine for finding out the target proteins. They have AI engine for finding out the molecules, and then they have AI for predicting the clinical trials results and what kind of people you have to engage for clinical trials. They started as a software company, but then they realized that, so their whole process is validated, but then they realized they have to prove to the industry that they can themselves create medicines. So my understanding is that one of their medicines has reached phase 2 trials. So that would be interesting if it passes to phase 3 trials. So that will be purely AI generated drug, which will come into the world. Now, this is the drug discovery process. But if we shift to the, say, plant operations, this, you can see it's like a fountain sprouting out. It's not water, this is data. So I have used the example of HVAC because I'm more familiar with the HVAC. But if you think about it, every minute the plant is operating, it is generating data. Plant data, set points, damper positions, flow rates, maintenance schedules, energy cost. breakdown alarms data, outdoor conditions, indoor conditions. All this data is being generated today. And I think by now you understood that data is the key to AI. So this data is being generated, and I think slowly, it has not happened as yet. People are realizing that it can be used to optimize operating costs, reduce energy consumption, and improve the quality of operations. But if you step back and look at a typical plant operations, you realize there's data sprouting out from all departments: warehouse operations, quality, human resources. The truth is, data is really the new oil. But today, this data is either going down the drain or it is being archived. It is not really harnessed or leveraged through AI to improve plant operations. The third application, which is closer probably to those who are attending this talk and serve the pharmaceutical industry as consultants, many of us command some kind of market value in the market because we know something. Either we have studied all ISP guides, we know about ISO standards, we know about FDA regulations, know about maybe EU regulations. Our knowledge is our for which people pay for. But soon, it's a matter of time where an AI system would come that has digested all the ISP guides, all those hundred thousands of pages of ISP guides, knows all the FDA regulations, all the EU regulations, all the WHO guidelines, all the ISO standards, your company's SOPs, industry best practices, all the design guidelines, HVAC, etc. And then it is available to you. You can ask it any question. This is not too far, I would say. So that brings us to the last point of this presentation. What does it mean for us who are knowledge workers? What does it mean for you and me? It becomes so easy to access this knowledge. So here we will have a second poll. Is AI really a big deal or all hype? Please answer this and then we'll move on.
We give it another 5 seconds.
So it is amazing that almost 100% of you agree that AI is truly a transformative technology in the history of human civilization, as big as fire, electricity, and the printing press. It is not just a hype. And if you look at the statements, this is just a sample. This is Sundar Pichai, more profound than fire or electricity. Satya Nadella, Define Technology Times. But the most insightful statement is by Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, who says we are moving from a world where intelligence is limited and expensive to where intelligence is abundant and cheap. What Google did for us was making information abundant and easily accessible, and even, in fact, cheap as well. But think about it. If intelligence something where you are making decisions, planning, some, as human beings, what we do. If that thing is available in abundance and cheap, what is going to happen? And to some extent, understand the impact of this technology. We have to understand what are human capabilities? What is the hierarchy of human capabilities? If someone were to ask us, we will realize our very basic capability is physiological: walking, grasping, gross motor skills. Then we have sensory skills: seeing, hearing, touch, etc. Then we have basic cognitive skills: remembering, focus, simple reasoning. Then we have intermediate cognitive skills: learning, language, logical reasoning. Then advanced cognitive: critical thinking, creativity, intuition, planning, strategizing. And then emotional. And on the top is metacognitive, which is self-awareness. These are the This is the hierarchy of capabilities we are born with. Now, what is happening is that AI is capturing all of it. If you think about a self-driving car, you can see it can take care of physiological skills, it can take care of sensory skills, and of course, all cognitive skills which are required for driving, it can take care of it. So, as people say, that what we are left with is basically somewhat critical thinking, creativity, intuition, the emotional understanding, empathizing, and of course, self awareness. So, what does it mean for jobs? In my view, every job will have to be seen as a combination of three parts. A part one, where something can be automated by AI and you have to forget about it. Part two, where you have to work alongside AI, which is much more powerful, smarter, and faster than you. But it is an assistant, it is not taking over your complete role. And the third part will be where AI is totally out. Only humans would do that work. Depending on what work we do, these proportions will change, of course. But as I look at it, no one can predict the future, of course. But as I look at it, that the part we have to really focus on is augmentation, the blue one, where we all need to learn how we can leverage AI because this thing is available. If you want to use for coding, it can code for you. If you want to use for writing, it can write for you. Uh, if you want to apply machine learning for any kind of pattern recognition from the data, it can do for you. The question is, what do you want it to do? So augmentation uh, should be the focus area for all of us. And that brings us to the recap. Let's conclude. What did we cover? So we started with these three questions. What is AI? AI mimics human intelligence. And then we talked about how it learns. It learns the same way we learn. And then we talked about the big elephant in the AI zoo, machine learning, then smaller elephant, deep learning, and then I just give you a flavor of a very simple code which can be generated if you instruct ChatGPT. Then we talked about AI's impact on drug discovery. We talked about collaboration between traditional pharma and AI companies. We talked about data fountains. Data is coming out every minute, ready to be used. And then we talked about an AI all-knowing interface, which is not too far. And then what it means for us, we have a certain hierarchy of human capabilities. and then we have to understand that everything will undergo these 3 A's: automate, augment, and avoid. That lady I was talking about actually is my wife. And this was after we used to have this argument about writing. And that's why I introduced this chat GPT to her. And I also launched a website called aichutney.com. And I wanted to make AI accessible to not only to her and everyone else who are, not from AI background. So thank you very much. I hope it was useful for you, and I would welcome any questions.
Thank you, Atul, for demystifying AI for us. There's a question from Agent J. How does one validate AI output confidently, considering the process of output going through the neuron network may give variable, inconsistent outputs?
So that's a very good question, because you can't blindly follow whatever AI is throwing at you, and that's why the quality of data, first of all, is very important. What you are feeding in, a great amount of care is required in terms of data quality, how you test it, and even after testing, when you suppose you are using AI for diagnosing patients, a real doctor will work alongside so-called AI doctor. So, in fact, there is a company called Palantir. I don't know whether you've heard about this company. It's a very secretive company. Many years back, they identified that pure AI, many people are running towards pure AI, and many people don't apply AI. This company decided that for the security of the kind of terrorism and things like that, they have a very strange model. The model is totally hybrid. They use big time AI, but they have human intelligence working alongside AI. And it's a formidable company which advises some of the world's biggest and most powerful governments for national security. So validating is still in our hands. We have to take care at every step. I hope that's what I feel. Any other question?
There's another question from Shrikant on, can you share any development around smell as something can mimic capabilities of animals, for example, landmines or dangerous drugs?
Sorry, I didn't get it. Can you repeat?
Can you share any development around SMELL, smell, as something that can
Okay.
mimic the capabilities of animals, for example, landmines or dangerous drugs?
No, I'm not having any such example right now with me, but I can find out, and I can share with Shrikant. Yeah, Shrikant is my friend. I will share with him. Thanks for asking, Shrikant.
Okay. I don't think we have any further questions. So thank you very much to everyone for joining this session, and feel free to check out our YouTube channel for the recording of this session. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.